1973, Elara's world had fractured entirely. The seizures grew more frequent, more violent, but a profound, suffocating depression now consumed her. She spoke of ending her life, of the futility of her existence, as the voices within her mind intensified.
I begged Father Klaus for an exorcism, convinced the demon had taken root within me. Twice he refused.
You are ill, child, not possessed. We must trust in God and the doctors.
But God had abandoned me, and the doctors. They offered only pills that dulled my senses, but amplified the torment within.
Day by day, Elara slipped deeper into the abyss. Her once pristine room became a testament to her suffering. Her body failed, her mind shattered. She crawled across the floor, her knees raw, ligaments torn, losing all control. The sweet girl was gone, replaced by a screaming, cursing entity that tore at clothes, gnawed walls, and on one horrifying occasion, consumed a spider, eyes wide and unseeing.
The devil has her. Only God can cast him out.
Finally, in September 1975, after years of fervent pleas and desperate appeals, Bishop Wartzberg, a man known for his cautious skepticism, granted permission. Father Arnold Renz and Father Ernst Alt, two priests with a reputation for unwavering faith and experience in spiritual warfare, were authorized to perform the exorcism on Elara.
I never regretted my decision. There was no other way to save my child.
The village of Klingenberg became a silent witness, its air thick with unspoken fears and whispers of the unholy. The Roth home, once a beacon of piety, transformed into a battleground. Father Renz and Father Alt arrived, their faces etched with solemn resolve. Anna watched, her heart a raw wound, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles shone white. This was her daughter, yet a monstrous distortion, a marionette of pure evil. The stench of decay, sulfur, and something indescribably foul filled the room. The exorcisms continued, day after day, week after week. They were relentless, exhausting, a grueling marathon of spiritual warfare. Up to 2 sessions a day, each lasting for hours. Elara, already frail, withered further. She refused food and water, her body sustained, it seemed, only by the malevolent force within her. Her doctors, increasingly alarmed, urged the family to commit her to a hospital. They spoke of schizophrenia, of psychosis, of a treatable condition that was being tragically ignored. Missed the unspeakable blasphemies. Ah, the church is but a hollow shell, corrupted beyond redemption. Damnation awaits all humanity. And her faith is a joke, a pathetic delusion. We revel in her suffering, in her despair.
She chose us. She begged for us, with her foolish penance, her self-flagellation. We merely answered her call.
Roth home became a mausoleum of dread, the air perpetually heavy, the silence outside, the exorcism sessions more terrifying than the screams. Anna, along with Elara's father, Joseph, and her sisters, Monica and Barbara, bore witness to the horrific spectacle. Their faces grew gaunt, their eyes shadowed with exhaustion and a profound bone-deep fear. Yet, their faith, however twisted by the circumstances, held firm. They truly believed they were fighting for Elara's soul, that every scream, every contortion was a step towards her liberation. The physical toll on Elara was catastrophic. Her once delicate frame, now a skeleton draped in translucent skin, her matted hair, cracked and bleeding lips, and eyes sunken deep into their sockets, reflected only a terrible, vacant despair. Her true voice was a mere whisper, a gasping plea for release, for peace. Barely 70 pounds, her mangled knees were useless. The last exorcism session, on June 30th, 1976, was particularly brutal. Elara was barely conscious, her breath shallow, rasping. Yet the entities within her raged with renewed fury, sensing their time was short.
She is ours. We feast on her soul.
Suddenly, a profound silence fell. Elara's body, which had been thrashing moments before, stilled, her eyes, wide and unseeing, fixed on some distant point. The silence that descended was not peace, but a void that swallowed all sound, a suffocating emptiness. The air itself, heavy with the stench of what was, pulsed with an unseen terror. Anna crumpled, her body convulsing with silent sobs. Yet through her profound grief, a desperate truth emerged. The world, however, saw things differently. News of Elara Roth's tragic death ignited a scandal that engulfed Germany. Local authorities swiftly launched an investigation, leading to the charging of the priests and Elara's parents with negligent homicide. The subsequent trial became a chaotic spectacle of conflicting truths. I did everything in my power. There was no other way to save my daughter. I saw them, the demons. I heard their voices, felt their evil. How could doctors ever understand a battle of the spirit? Years passed. The Roths and the priests received symbolic sentences, suspended on appeal, their lives forever marked by the tragedy. The house in Klingenberg stood, a somber monument to faith, fear, and inexplicable horror. Anna Roth continued to live there, a woman forever changed, her hair now pure white, her eyes holding a distant, haunted look. She would often sit in Elara's old room, now meticulously clean, a small shrine built around the crucifix that had hung there during the exorcisms. The air was always cold in that room, even in summer. Sometimes, late at night, when the wind howled through the ancient trees surrounding the house, Anna would swear she heard them again. The words were faint, barely audible above the wind, yet they echoed, not just in the silent corners of the old house, but in the deepest chambers of her memory. She clutched her rosary, knuckles white, lips moving in silent prayer. She believed, with every fiber of her being, that Elara was in heaven, finally at peace. But in the deepest hours of the night, a chilling doubt would creep in. Was it truly Elara's soul that had ascended? Or had the ancient darkness found a new vessel, whispering blasphemies to a mother who loved too much? believe too deeply. In a world where shadows take form and faith becomes a terrifying weapon. The chill of the Bavarian autumn always seemed to carry a heavier weight in Klingenberg, a small, devout village nestled amongst rolling hills and ancient forests. But in 1976, that weight was more than atmospheric. It was a shroud. It clung to the old stone houses, seeped into the very soil, and settled deepest within the home of the Roth family, particularly around the memory of their daughter, Elara. Elara Roth, born September 21st, 1952, was a child of profound piety, a living embodiment of the village's unwavering faith. Her eyes, often downcast in prayer, held a gentle earnestness, and her smile, though rare, could melt the Bavarian snow. She was diligent, sweet, agreeable, and utterly devoted to her mother, Anna Dot. Anna Roth carried a wound that never truly healed, a scar etched deep into her soul from before Elara's birth. In 1948, she had given birth to Martha, a child out of wedlock, a transgression that brought profound shame upon the devout family. On her wedding day, forced to wear a black dress instead of white, Anna had vowed to God and to herself that she would atone. Martha, a fragile wisp of a girl, died at 8. Elara internalized this loss, this perceived punishment, deeply. As she grew, an ever-increasing burden to make amends for her mother's perceived sins became her obsession. She spent her nights sleeping on the cold, hard floor, offering her discomfort as penance. Even in her early 20s, her knees bore the calloused proof of endless genuflections. The first tremors of the coming storm struck in 1968. Daisy Young, Karistas and Elara, then 16, began experiencing seizures. Her body, once graceful in its quiet movements, would contort uncontrollably, her eyes rolling back, a guttural cry escaping her lips. Doctors diagnosed it as epilepsy, prescribing medication. But Elara knew, with a terrifying certainty, that it was something more. By 1973, Elara's world had fractured entirely. The seizures became more frequent, more violent. But they were now overshadowed by a profound, suffocating depression. She spoke of ending her life, of the futility of her existence, even as the voices grew louder, more insistent.
I sought Father Klaus twice, begging for an exorcism. I was convinced a demon had taken root within me.
You are ill, child, not possessed. We must trust in God and the doctors. Day by day, Elara slipped deeper into the abyss. Her once pristine room became a testament to her suffering. She knelt hundreds of times a day until her body was broken, forced to crawl, a grotesque shadow of her former self. Despite the pleas of neighbors and villagers for Elara to receive intensive medical treatment, Anna remained unyielding. Her faith, once a source of comfort, had transformed into an unshakable fortress against all doubt, convinced that only a spiritual remedy could save her daughter.
The devil has her. Only God can cast him out.
Finally, in September 1975, after years of fervent pleas and desperate appeals, Bishop Würzburg, known for his cautious skepticism, granted permission. Father Arnold Renz and Father Ernst Alt, two priests with unwavering faith and experience in spiritual warfare, were authorized to perform the exorcism on Elara.
There was was no other way to save my child.
The village of Klingenberg became a silent witness, its air thick with unspoken fears and whispers of the unholy. The Roth home, once a beacon of piety, transformed into a battleground. Father Renz and Father Alt arrived, their faces etched with solemn resolve. Elara was brought in, a skeletal figure whose eyes, once soft brown, now blazed with a manic fiery light. She was secured to a bed with chains, a necessary precaution, as the priests explained, for the demon would fight with unimaginable strength. Exorcism musti, omnis immundus spiritus, omnis satanica potestas. When Father Renz began the rites, Elara's body erupted. She thrashed and screamed, her voice deepening, cracking into a chorus of guttural growls and high-pitched shrieks.
I saw my daughter, yet saw a monstrous distortion, a marionette of evil. Her body, a vessel for unspeakable torment, twisted at impossible angles, her eyes staring into an abyss only she could perceive.
The exorcisms continued, day after day, week after week. They were relentless, exhausting, a grueling marathon of spiritual warfare. There were up to 2 sessions a day, each lasting for hours. Elara, already frail, withered further. She refused food and water, her body sustained, it seemed, only by the malevolent force within her. Her doctors, increasingly alarmed, urged the family to commit her to a hospital. They spoke of schizophrenia, of psychosis, of a treatable condition that was being tragically ignored. Unspeakable blasphemies, corruption of the church, damnation awaits all humanity.
She chose us. She begged for us. With her foolish penance, her self-flagellation. We merely answered her call.
The Roth home, once a sanctuary, had transformed into a tomb of terror. The air itself was a suffocating shroud, and the silence between Elara's agonizing cries was more chilling than any scream. Anna, Josef, Monika, and Barbara, their faces hollowed by exhaustion and a primal dread, bore witness to the horrific spectacle. The physical toll on Elara was catastrophic. Her delicate frame, now a skeleton draped in translucent skin, barely clung to life. Her voice, a gasping whisper, was a plea for peace, while pneumonia waited, a grim reaper in the shadows. The last exorcism session, on June 30th, 1976, was particularly brutal. Elara was barely conscious, her breath shallow, rasping. Yet, the entities within her raged with renewed fury, sensing their time was short.
She is ours. We feast on her soul.
A profound silence enveloped everything. Elara's thrashing body went still, her eyes wide and unseeing, fixed on a distant, unknown point. Her breath caught, then stopped. A faint, unsettling smile, a phantom of her past sweetness, played on her lips. The silence that followed her death was not one of peace, but of profound, suffocating emptiness. The air in the room, still thick with the stench of decay, seemed to vibrate with an unseen horror. Anna collapsed, her body racked with sobs, yet even in her grief, A desperate conviction remained. Elara was free. The world, however, held a different view. News of Elara Roth's tragic death ignited a scandal that engulfed Germany. Local authorities launched a swift investigation. Soon, the priests and Elara's parents were charged with negligent homicide. The trial became a grotesque circus of conflicting narratives. Medical experts detailed severe malnutrition, dehydration, and untreated mental illness, while the accused devoutly claimed Elara was possessed, acting purely out of love and faith to save her soul. I never wavered. My face a mask of grief and defiance. I believed I had done everything in my power, chosen the only path to save my beloved daughter. I had seen the demons, heard their voices, felt their malevolent presence. How could mere doctors understand such a spiritual battle? Years passed. The Roths and the priests received symbolic sentences, suspended on appeal, their lives forever marked by the tragedy. The house in Klingenberg stood, a somber monument to faith, fear, and inexplicable horror. Anna Roth continued to live there, a woman forever changed, her hair now pure white, her eyes holding a distant, haunted look. She found herself drawn to Elara's room, a meticulously clean space, now a silent shrine around the old crucifix. That crucifix, a silent witness to past exorcisms, seemed to draw the cold from the very air, even in summer. But it was late at night, when the wind howled through ancient trees, that the echoes truly returned. The words were faint, barely audible above the wind, but they echoed in her memory, in the silent corners of the old house. She clutched her rosary, knuckles white, lips moving in silent prayer. She knew Elara was in heaven, finally, at peace. But in the deepest hours, a chilling doubt would creep in. Was it truly Elara's soul that ascended? Or had the ancient darkness found a new vessel, whispering blasphemies to a mother who loved too much and believed too deeply, in a world where shadows take form and faith becomes a terrifying weapon?
The essence of screams, of fervent prayers, of guttural roars that were not hers, became a hollow space filled with an even deeper terror. Now an old woman, my frame stooped, my spirit bent but not broken. I often find myself adrift in that silence, a silent sentinel in a house that refuses to forget. Joseph, my husband, faded years ago, a quiet departure into the earth, his face etched with a despair I was too preoccupied to fully acknowledge.
Her days were a meticulous, ritualistic cleaning of Elara's room. Anantapart is in a kausast, and an ideas in the koa with Yaramas. Casting Thursday, half steepy a tireless devotion, both penance and a desperate attempt to scrub away the lingering stain of evil. She polished the crucifix until it gleamed, arranged the worn rosary beside a faded photograph of a young, smiling Elara. You let her suffer, Anna. You let us in. Oh, for your pride, your atonement. She chose you too, in the end. A mother's love. A powerful vessel for our work.
No. Unsettling phenomena became commonplace. Shadows stretched and twisted into impossible forms in the periphery of my vision. Objects would subtly shift on shelves, or her cupboard door would creak open, only for me to find nothing else. I can faint scratching sounds from within the walls, or a soft thud upstairs, like something being dragged. I dismiss it as the old house settling, the wind, the rats in the attic. But the rationalizations grew thinner, more brittle, with each passing year.
Her own health, mirroring Elara's slow descent, began to deteriorate. Sleepless nights became the norm, punctuated by vivid, terrifying dreams where Elara's tortured face would morph into grotesque, leering visages. Her appetite waned, and her once robust frame became increasingly fragile, her bones aching with a chill that seemed to emanate from within. As years bled into decades, the distinction between Elara's spirit and the demons blurred entirely for Anna. The voices were no longer just echoes. They were a constant, pervasive presence, sometimes a cacophony, sometimes a single, insidious whisper. She began to talk to them, arguing, pleading, sometimes even laughing in a dry, hollow way that belonged to neither her nor Elara. A bitter winter night, a decade after Elara's death, Anna found herself drawn to Elara's room. The moonlight streamed through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the frigid air, casting long, writhing shadows that seemed to coil around the room's edges. The crucifix on the wall, usually a source of comfort, seemed to shimmer faintly, its carved figure almost grimacing. As she knelt on the worn floorboards, her knees aching with a familiar pain, she heard it clearly. It wasn't a whisper, nor a menacing growl that pierced the silence. No, it was something far more insidious. A sound that twisted the gut and froze the blood. A soft, childish giggle.
My sweet girl, hey, wait here.
The light, airy giggle lingered, but a sinister change began. A low guttural chuckle, like a predator's purr, subtly overlaid the child's innocent mirth. The air turned impossibly cold, stealing breath, as the cloying scent of decay intensified. You cannot escape me. I am a part of you now, a symphony of your greatest fears, resonating within your very soul. Yes, Anna, her, we are all here, and we have never left. Anna's scream tore through the silence, a primal shriek of terror. Yet, it was a sound lost to the howling wind, unheard by any in the village. Her rosary fell as her fingers clawed at her throat. The absence of Elara's tortured screams, of the priest's fervent prayers, of the guttural roars that were not hers, was a hollow space filled with an even deeper terror. Anna, now an old woman, her frame stooped, her spirit bent but not broken, would often find herself adrift in that silence. A silent sentinel in a house that refused to forget. Joseph, her husband, had faded years ago, a quiet departure into the earth, his face etched with a despair that Anna had been too preoccupied to fully acknowledge. She spent her days in a meticulous ritualistic cleaning of Elara's room, a tireless devotion that was both an act of penance and a desperate attempt to scrub away the lingering stain of evil. She polished the crucifix until it gleamed, arranged the worn rosary beside a faded photograph of a young, smiling Elara before the darkness. Yet, the faint scent of decay, sometimes stronger than others, was her constant companion, a ghostly perfume that clung to her clothes, her hair, her very skin. You let her suffer, Anna. You let us in, all for your pride, your atonement. She chose you too, in the end. A mother's love, a powerful vessel for our work.
My rosary, a cold comfort. My lips move in fervent prayer, but my heart races uncontrollably. The line between memory and malevolent suggestion blurs, fading into a terrifying uncertainty. Is it my own grief, my own crushing guilt, twisting my mind into this torment?
Small, unsettling phenomena became commonplace. Shadows stretched and twisted into impossible forms in the periphery of her vision. Objects would subtly shift on shelves, or a cupboard door would creak open, only for Anna to find nothing amiss. Her own health, mirroring Elara's slow descent, began to crumble. Sleepless nights turned into a torment, haunted by vivid, terrifying dreams where Elara's face twisted into monstrous, leering visages. Her appetite vanished, her once strong body now frail. Bones aching with an unnatural cold that seemed to emanate from deep inside. As it bled into decades, the line between Elara's spirit and the demons blurred for Anna. The voices were no longer echoes. They were a constant, pervasive presence. A cacophony of madness, then a single, insidious whisper. She argued, pleaded, even laughed with them, a dry, hollow sound that was neither hers nor Elara's. At Cade, I am 10 long years since Elara was gone. Undoubtedly. Yet, this room, her room, still pulled me in. The moonlight, usually a comfort, now twisted into something sinister, revealing dancing dust and shadows that seemed to writhe. Even the crucifix, my anchor, seemed to grimace, its faint shimmer an ominous warning. And whisper, not a growl, but a soft, childish giggle. The giggle, once light and airy, warped into a guttural chuckle, a predator's purr beneath a lamb's bleat. The air grew impossibly cold, stealing breath, as the thick, cloying scent of decay pressed in. From the deepest shadows, where Elara's bed once stood, 2 pinpricks of malevolent energy glowed like embers from the floor. We are a part of you now, Elara, a symphony of your deepest fears, echoing from within. Yes, Anna. We are all here. We are all here, and we have never left. Anna screamed, a raw, primal shriek, lost to the howling wind that swept through Klingenberg. Her rosary fell as her eyes, wide and unseeing, glazed over with chilling, vacant acceptance. A slow, unsettling smile, reflecting profound, terrifying emptiness, spread across her lips.